our state representative, our leader, our friend, our brother, State Representative Christian Mitchell.
Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
First of all, I want to say thank you to all the amazing elected officials up here. I am not where I am right now without any of them. I want to give some special thanks to all of them, but especially to our Cook County Board President, Tony Pruitt-Winkle, who believed in me, who gave me a shot, who put her name behind me when nobody knew who I was or if I was old enough to vote. I am very grateful for everything that you have done for me and for everybody else. And I want to also especially thank Will Burns, who gave me my first shot, and believed in me, and trusted me with his re-election and to work in his office. He is a friend and a brother, and I love him more than I can say. So when I ran for this office in 2011, one of the things that I said was that my family had inspired me to want to do this, their commitment, their example. I am joined by my hero, my inspiration, my mother Debbie, who's back here. But it's her dedication, her sacrifice. The fact that she got up to work the night shift every single morning when I was growing up that inspired me. And what I learned when I was a community organizer working with Soul, who has some people in the room today, by the way, was that her story, our story, while noble, was not uncommon. I was also inspired by my grandfather, who was a union steelworker. His example of public service became my North Star, the thing that I aspired to. I talked about my aunt, who I loved very much and who never quite recovered from a difficult encounter with the criminal justice system. But I also talked about how, in spite of all those things, I was so lucky to have experienced the childhood I experienced, where we had boxing and swimming and other extracurriculars that kept me out of trouble in Maywood, where I had an education that not just prepared me for the future, but dared me to dream of something more for my community and for my family. And when I reflect on those things, I'm reminded of what's at stake in Springfield right now. Because there are thousands of seniors, just like my grandfather, who worked hard, they played by the rules, they did everything that they're supposed to do. And all they're asking for is an in-home care worker to help them stay in their homes and age in place with the dignity and respect that they deserve, right? But the governor has cut that program. I think about all the working women like my mother, who are sacrificing every single day and just need a little bit of help from some child care assistance so that they can go to work and build a better life for their family. But the governor's cut that program. This is the only politician I know trying to move people from work to welfare. Republicans don't even do that, right? And there is a child growing up right now, down the street in Bronzeville, down the street in Kenwood, in South Shore, or in Marion County downstate, who, given the same educational opportunities that I had, could one day cure cancer, or run a company, or be standing here running for or having this job if they had the same hedge built around them that I did, the same investment that I had. And that's what's on the line right now in Springfield, Illinois. And it's not just good enough to talk about it. We need elected officials who don't just talk about hardship, but who have lived it and remember where they came from. And that's why I'm running for re-election, because that's what we need in Springfield right now. There are too many children who, despite living in a century where they will earn what they learn, do not have access to the same type of quality education that I had. There are too many communities that don't have the same basic assets, the basic amenities, the infrastructure needed to live a decent life. And the question here is not just who's going to talk about it. The question is who has a history of standing up for our values and a plan to implement them. Because right now, while the governor's trying to cut child care, I've advanced plans to expand it to more working families. While there are those struggling with the criminal justice system, I have actually co-sponsored a bill that passed to decriminalize small amounts of marijuana so that young people, especially young black men, don't find themselves in a scarlet letter that dooms them to a future that they do not deserve. And so many people talk about education, but I am the only candidate in this race. Some of y'all missed your shout. I'm going to say that again. I'm still in that capacity. There. Some of y'all missed your shout. I'm the only candidate in this race who has advocated to change our broken education funding formula. I'm the only candidate in this race who has a plan that would permanently fix the Chicago public schools funding crisis. That plan fund education first. It's $200 million to CPS next year and more than $1 billion in funding for our schools long term. And it is, by the way, a fully funded piece of legislation. And that's what we need. Because there are people who will talk about what they want to do. There are people who will use empty rhetoric. But the question right now is who has a vision of the future that is exciting and inclusive and possible? Or are we going to deal with the same old broken rhetoric and broken policies repeated by special interest groups from the past? I believe in the vision that we have formed over the last 2.5 years since I've been state representative. I believe in a state that funds education first. But most importantly, I still believe that the world outside these four walls is not the best world that we could possibly make. That if we are willing to work together and strive together and sacrifice together, we can make a world where the fortuitous circumstance of your birth determines only where you start and never where you finish. And that's what's on the line right now. But I know now how difficult that fight is. I know what it takes to win, and I promise you, when you work and vote to re-elect me, no one will fight harder. God bless you guys. Thank you so much.